that I think everybody's interested in. We just did an episode last week where we talked about the most annoying things about going to the dispensary. And Chris, he helps people get around these challenges. So, Chris, thank you for spending some time with us today. And for those of you out there in the audience, this is the Talking Cannabis podcast.
You know, we are always talking about cannabis. It's just kind of what we do. And if you haven't checked out last week's episode, you really should go do that. Remember, it's kind of building off of that. We talked about going and visiting all these dispensaries and the problems we ran into. And here's an expert here. He actually designs websites for dispensaries. He's done over 200 websites for dispensaries, works with some really cool brands.
Chris is someone who has worked with brands in the Los Angeles area, and if you happen to live there, you probably would know the names of some of these great companies out there like K-Town Collective and some other places that he said he can't even mention here live on recording. But he's experienced. I mean, this guy knows what he's talking about. So Chris, in our last episode, we had talked about some of the difficulties that we've had trying to find cool places to go and visit, even just to do this podcast. And some of them are just mind-boggling as to why is this even an issue?
I think nowadays they bet everything on weed maps, thinking that weed maps is going to be the ultimate thing, which is a terrible thing to do.
We were just talking about this exact thing on our last episode of everybody thinks they're on weed maps, but weed maps isn't as good as a lot of people think it is, and they're not even on Google. Like you can't Google their business.
No, see, I'm not going to say I don't use it. I mean, I use weed maps. I've used it plenty of times. It's a useful tool, you know. But here's the thing, though. Even with that, you still run across businesses or listings that aren't 100%. They don't update them. They're not. It's just like any kind of business or with Google or any kind of online reputation. If you're not staying up to standards and taking all your listing information to the gym and working it out constantly, it doesn't get the power and juice that it should. So I think that's the number one thing, is just paying attention to your information that's out there and being consistent about it and making sure that you have a website. So that's the first step.
I know that you're a website guru, okay, and you work in this stuff every single day, but I remember when I had my first local business, it was a cell phone repair store, and I would have guys come in and they would tell us about this internet stuff, and I never spent a dime with any of them, which was the biggest mistake I ever made in that business, okay? Dumb idea. But with that, if you just came in and told me, hey, you're not getting found on Weed Maps or on Google because of your listings, I don't know what the heck that even is.
You're right. So okay, and so something like that, I've heard before, and it's really, really simple. It's like when you look up something on Google, because the same person that has this business is consumer themselves. So it's, hey, when you look up food near me on your phone, what are you doing? You're Googling for businesses, and then you find those businesses, and whatever is at the top or looks good, that's what you go with. Well, it's the same with your business, no matter what the niche is. If you're not out there, nobody can find you. You know, it's impossible. If you're a musician, you got a band, you're a rapper, whatever. If you're just making music all day long and you got the best music in the world, it's just going to change the whole world. I mean, it's just powerful music. Who the hell cares? It doesn't matter for crap if it's just in your basement and nobody knows. You know,
well,
that's why.
How hard is it to get a Google My Business and set all those things up? I mean, like if I'm a dispensary owner, right? That sounds so confusing to me.
So it's, that's a very good point. Okay, so two things. Number one, it is not hard whatsoever to get things started. Okay, you can claim your business, Google My Business, really, really simple. Just by Googling "claim my business" on Google will give you the directions to do it, which is really, really simple. They send you a PIN, a little thing to verify your address, and you put it in, and it's really, really simple. And
it takes a while to get in the mail.
Yeah,
it does. It takes like 2 weeks. It's not, not that bad, which I was about to say, but there are companies out there that if you don't feel comfortable with this, they can help you out 100%, and make the stuff happen for you. So, I mean, it's not It's not hard. If you can Google stuff, you can find it out yourself. But if you have a problem with it and you don't want to deal with it, just as much as you can Google the information of how to do it, you can Google and find a company to do that for you. So it's simple. It's easy.
I remember there was this one guy, I think in Oklahoma, nearby us, and you went in there and he was complaining about the time, how he's always getting these bad reviews because Weed Maps says that he's open at one time and he's not actually open at that time at all. He says he can't get the thing fixed. It's just round circles. What the heck is going on? Why is it so hard for this guy to get his hours changed on Weed Maps?
I mean, I really couldn't 100% tell you, but I guess I can just guess. You know, in a big type of website like that, whether it's Weed Maps, Home Advisor, or any kind of website that has a bunch of businesses or professionals on it, it's not so easy to get support or help, you know, always, because you're not always getting the direct support. Even though it's a big company, it's a big website, it's going to be very easy for me to contact somebody. They got an online chat room thing. That doesn't mean that your issue is going to be resolved really fast. And again, it goes back to people not even paying attention. Just because you think that you have a dispensary, you think that you have a Weed Maps listing, and you know it gets made or however it gets populated, but that doesn't mean that all the information is correct about it. And it's just like I said, just like any kind of listing, you know, you got to go back to that and make sure you're good. I'm not saying that to rely on the Weed Maps, and I'm not saying to rely on Google or your website. They're all dominoes they're important with each other. So if you were to ask me how somebody ranks well on the internet, I wouldn't say one specific thing. You know, I would say it's a multitude of different things that are very important, that once put together has so much power in it that there's no stopping it.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like
I'd explain it.
Yeah.
It sounds like these listings are really important. Maybe we should have you back on for another episode where we can talk more about listings, because you know I know that this stuff can kind of be complicated, a little bit technical. So for maybe those of you out in the audience that are interested in learning more about listings, don't worry, we'll have Chris back on another time and we'll do some content to help people that need that solution figure out what the heck to do. Mm-hmm. But for myself, right, if I can find you on Google Maps or Weed Maps, the next thing is I click on the listing, right? Bam, you're up there, top 3 spots, boom, I hit you. But then I immediately just go on to the next guy, because when I got over to your thing, there was no information about anything, or maybe there was just a picture of some weed, and it's like, what are we doing? Buying this off the streets? I mean, this is a picture. This is what I got for the price.
I think that's where the website comes in, and you are probably the expert for this right here. Like, you really need a website.
Yeah.
Above everything.
Well, there's 2 things that we'd sit down and we'd talk to a customer, and we go through and, you know, we ask them a series of questions, and that helps us to deliver the right product for them, the right website. But 2 of the main things I think is that when it comes to a dispensary website is the listing, all the information that's pertinent to being found, SEO, all that kind of stuff falls in that category. But then the other thing is, services, systems. Basically, systems built in that allow the customer to go ahead and interact with the business better. If that isn't up there, if your website doesn't have the appropriate stuff for your audience and your potential customers to interact with you, then they're going to exactly do what you just said, and that's going to click the back button and go to a different website. However, though, if you have a menu, if you have everything built in directly of like where you're located, deals and whatnot, first-time patient deals, all these different types of stuff, information about the different types of products that you have, the different types of brands that you carry, all this stuff is very, very important. That's basically what it comes down to, I think. Services.
Well,
I think you're right. Yeah.
I'm curious, right? Since we have this guy here, and he's worked on a lot of these websites, I'm guessing, Chris, with 200 different websites that you've built for dispensaries, at some point you've worked with at least like a smaller dispensary, maybe, that had something really basic when they came into you, and then you redid all this stuff for their website. What kind of a difference did you see for that business after you did that? Like, and for the users too.
You know what? There's one in particular that always stands out in my mind, and there was one that basically had a crappy Weebly page, a free website that they got put together that they made themselves, and it was one of the worst websites I've actually ever seen for any business. There was a few things that we changed, but one of the things that we changed that was so small and so basic was just having an intro page that had 2 buttons, and it was basically, if you're 18, click here to enter the website. If not, click here, and it goes back to, for a while we had it go to back to Google, and then we decided to make it go to, I think it was like a Dr. Seuss website or something like that. Like the owner was really, really cool. He's like, okay, I want this to go to a really cute website. And so we did that. But it's just, like I said, it's those little, implementing those different little systems that allow the website to be, so much better and interact better with the customer. That was the first one right there, and I think the one that stands out in my mind because they had so many underage individuals that were going on their website, and they were calling them, and it was taking up a lot of time. They were getting phone calls, so they were on the phone with people that didn't matter, that weren't customers, and by doing this one little change, they were able to filter out a lot of the people that were wasting a lot of their time, so they started saving money.
That's really interesting. I don't have a dispensary, so I don't have that problem. But now I think about it, I could totally see that happening.
I have noticed that, yeah, most of good dispensary websites are going to include that.
Yeah.
Like, kind of know if you get that, it's probably going to be a higher quality website.
Yeah.
Right.
It's very interesting that's a piece of information that I hadn't connected with that quality, but yeah. Makes sense.
I'd be interested from
your customers.
Yeah, filtering out the customers, exactly. That's so cool. I like that.
If anybody on the audience that is maybe a dispensary owner or works at the dispensary and you have some cool story about, I don't know, something that relates to this, kids calling you up, annoying stuff, or wasting time with repetitive tasks, and you just want to share it, drop it in the comments. I'd be interested in hearing, because I never expected this, but I remember prank calling restaurants and doing all kinds of butthole things when I was a kid, or the other kids doing it, but yeah.
I like that a lot.
Okay.
It was a big thing in Arizona when we first started out there, because when I moved out to Arizona, it was like when things really legalized out there. Excuse me. So we got out there, and immediately as the proposition passed, there was a lot of youth that were really trying to take advantage of it. The laws weren't up to date on it, and so there was a lot of dispensaries that were popping up left and right. I mean, they were just there one day, and then a month later they were gone. So in the interim of all this, you had a lot of youth that were trying to really take advantage of it, and they found out that they could call and get things set up and kind of get the ball working, and say, hey, I'm Mr. So-and-so, I got a knee injury from football, I'm from college, and they'd get over there, and they would have really, really a complicated thing to get marijuana, but they would go over there with their fake papers and get their medical card there, and then get their marijuana. But it all started from the website. And surprisingly, there wasn't a lot of websites. There wasn't a lot of good websites, but there wasn't a lot of websites that had that intro page. And that was the main system being implemented.
That's so cool.
So, Chris, one time in the past, we were talking about this topic, and you had told me there was one thing that you had seen make a major difference for dispensaries when offering like some kind of special bonus, some incentive to get people to come in. Chris, after working all these websites, all these companies, what are some recommendations you have for dispensary owners out there so they can make a better experience for us?
Well, there's three. First off, there is the first time patient deals, which are freaking great. I think that's a big attractor right there. Then the other thing are free pre-rolls. a lot of these dispensaries will give, if you spend a certain amount of money, they'll not only give you kind of like a discount, but they'll give you pre-rolls, which is, kind of awesome. Who doesn't want a free
That
little
is
joint to go in
Louis'
and
absolute favorite thing
Right.
about dispensaries. He has a whole like map of dispensaries that he can get pre-rolls out, like of the U.S. places we've gone. He's a little crazy about pre-rolls.
I will not
It's
make
cool
a joint,
too.
but if you're giving it away, I'm gonna drive over there and go get it.
A lot of the times, because I know how to roll really, really, really well. So I got to be truthful. I'll break them down and re-roll them because they're not to my standards. But the point being is that they're free, and it's a really good thing. Usually it's some
You can
kind
get
of
some really good
weed.
bud in a pre-roll, and then you just put it in a bowl, and you just take care of it, and you enjoy it, and you can get it for like free, or for like $5. It's like a nice treat.
That brings another service, exactly. So you got those ones that you're giving away, but then you have a premium pre-roll that's right next to it. It's like $10 a joint.
You had a bubble joint. Have you ever had a bubble joint? Check out bubble joint. Those are pretty good.
Chris lives in California. He has access to the best stuff.
I bet he's had a bubble joint before.
I had 5 blunts literally just last night. Actually, I think 6. So that's not a lot.
Oh my word!
They all had wax in them too. Okay, so the other thing is having a delivery service. I think it is really, really smart for a dispensary. It's kind of not so much how to get customers into your door, but I think it's to get more customers. And why I think it's important to look at this is because the place that I go, they recently decided to do a delivery service to match with their indoor service, which is like, in my opinion, awesome, because I love this place. So my point being is that a lot of your customers that you are going to find for your dispensary are going to get so comfortable with just your spot that having this little system or service that saves them time to go into your place and you send it to the door like a pizza really can bring you some extra income. So, if that's a possibility.
I'm hearing you talk about it, and I'm just starting to feel like, why is not every dispensary have that? I would totally go to the dispensary. They would deliver my bud to me. Oh man, that would be so nice.
I smell like some pizza and some weed.
Pizza and weed. Like a pizza and weed.
You can pick it up on the way home. Yeah, marriage, Uber Eats, and Uber weed, I guess.
Uber weed.
You got yourself a hell of a business. That's an idea that somebody needs to put together. I don't have any money, but if I was Elon Musk, that's what I would do.
If somebody wants to do that, you should do it. Whoever to get that idea.
Yeah.
Let us know that you're going to do it too, because we want to be in on it.
I know a guy. I know a guy.
I know a guy. I'll make a phone call or something. Don't worry about it.
If Chris don't know him, I know, okay?
That's probably true.
Yeah. Well, anyways, Chris, thank you for joining with us today. This was a fantastic time hanging out with you. I'd love to have you back again if you want to continue to share your knowledge and experience with us.
Sure.
And for those of you out in the audience, please drop us your comments down below and let us know what are some of your tips for dispensary websites, or what are the things that are making it difficult for you to want to do business with people. So
maybe you're a dispensary owner and you can have some stories about how having those things really did change, or maybe they didn't change your life. I don't expect that, but if you have a crazy story to share with us, we'd love to hear it. Yeah. Sound up in the comments below, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
It helps with the algorithm.
Otherwise, we don't show up.
Yeah, if you appreciate this at all, please do all of those things. It's at least one time.
And of course, do it for our friend Chris Vergin here.
Yeah.
He's pretty great. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, guys. We are going to be out for now, and I'm sure we'll be back again next week with a whole new Cannabis podcast. Stay tuned. Bye.